What's up? Today I want to talk about buying a house, standard operating procedure. How do you do it? So let's highlight the process first. You start out, you're looking at houses, you finally find the one, right? So usually what I like to do is make an offer somewhere between 5 and 7% less than list price, depending on how long it's been on the market. So from there, you can negotiate everything else, come to terms. Let's say you've got an executed agreement, right? So I'm gonna make another video on all the common real estate terms, but for example, those executed terms, you're gonna have what they call an executed purchase agreement. On that, there's going to be an escrow amount. There's going to be a balance to close. There could be an additional deposit, also considered an additional escrow. There's going to be a closing timeline, an inspection period, title evidence, loan approval period. All of these things, if you don't have someone that has any idea what it means, it could get a little messy. So I just want to throw that out there. But the main thing I wanted to make a video about today is inspect what you're buying. So I'm Lucas Adams. My day-to-day, for the most part, is buyer representation. It's where I specialize. But case in point, places like this is a listing of mine. I have a few builders I represent, a few developers, and it blows my mind how often a consumer or a buyer, home shopper, whatever you want to call them, they'll reach out to me directly, and I'm decent enough, I always take care of people. But there are agents out there that will not do that. And when it comes to your inspection period, everything else involved, you should really always have your own representation, 100% of the time, 100%, no exceptions. And the reason I say that, these people will call me, and a lot of times from that like consumer buyer home shopper mindset, they want to waive the inspection. That we're ready to buy the house, we saw it, we like it, we don't need an inspection, right? Whew, that could not be further from the truth. I mean, even if it's a new construction home, so case in point, one like this, all that inspection period is for, and what it's going to do, should anything be found, faulty appliances, the sink doesn't work right, the float switch for the disposal, whatever the case is, if it's a new construction home, there are subcontractors employed by the builder, by the developer, and it costs them $0 to remedy and fix everything. So your average home inspection is $300, $400. Someone that has seen tens of thousands of homes will crawl into every nook, cranny, crawl space. They will look at everything. And whether it's a major default, so say missing stucco on an exterior that can expose you to water intrusion, whether it's a cracked tile, a cabinet drawer that is missing a screw, a bolt, a fastener, anything that they find will go on that report. And in the case of new construction, the buyer will just turn that full report over to the builder, and for that whopping $0, that builder will have everything fixed to be perfect. And in the event that you don't do the inspection, is the common person going to find all of those things? No, there's just no way. They don't have the experience and or the eyeballs to look at a house in that way. And I'm guilty of it too at this point. When I look at a house, of course, it's a home and the most important asset to myself and to others that are shopping. But I also look at them now as more of a mechanical thing because I've been in and out of so many of these things at this point. But point being, like my friends, my family, girlfriend, parents, most people don't look at houses like that. They see beautiful homes. We're ready to close. We don't need an inspection. Always do an inspection. I just did one recently. It was a resale where it was in a new construction community. It was a pretty renowned national builder. I won't name names. Neil Communities. But case in point, the trusses were not attached. They were not affixed. There's supposed to be straps and nails, case hards that shoot through and attach everything to be one big piece of immovability in the case of tornadoes and Florida hurricanes. But point being, my buyer, she was the same way. She said, I don't need an inspection. I love the house, Lucas. I'm ready. I want it. And I had this exact conversation with her. I said, you don't know what you don't know. So for $400, wouldn't you like to know? And so we didn't just find rafters and structural components that weren't attached. We found sewer lines that were disconnected improperly, leaving waste gas in her home, things like that, where this other buyer that had lived in the home for almost 2 years from a great builder, for sure, but things happen. You can't always build a perfect house. Of the builders and developers I represent, we've gotten pretty good at when you build the same model enough times and you use the same contractors, usually you know what goes wrong and we can fix things before we ever even have an inspection. But point being, always inspect your homes. So my next tangent would be, as far as the timeline, standard operating procedure, your average inspection period, you're never going to need more than about 7 days, right? So from the time you come to terms, your due diligence, inspection period, if you have 7 days, that gives you 2 or 3 days for your inspector to get out there, another day to review the report. In the new construction world, it's easy breezy, beautiful, cover girl, right? You just give them the inspection, everything gets fixed. If it's a resale, that's going to buy your agent time to negotiate credits. Now, in the event you go straight to a listing agent and they have what you would call a mutual agency or dual agency, which can only be possible as a transaction broker, that is something where you're kind of setting yourself up for a pickle, because if it needs a new AC, if the roof is broken, if anything's wrong that costs money, the default is always it's an as-is contract, right? You, as a buyer, should not be on the hook for everything that's as-is. And even if the seller won't budge, you can take your deposit, your escrow, that earnest money, and you can go buy something else. But I tell you this story because I had a resale recently where the roof was broken. It was probably about $3,000. And the AC, the air conditioning unit, it wasn't air conditioning anymore. That house was about 85 degrees inside. And that happened not after we toured. When we toured, it was fine. But at the inspection period, we found the entire system, it was no good. So it was about a $9,000 repair. Having me in there, for example, there's a commission involved, everything else. I was able to leverage that seller to sign paperwork to give us a full $9,000 to fix that AC unit out of the seller's pocket after closing within 1 week. So point being, having these different levers to pull and negotiate against, crucial. If anything, they're imperative, especially if it's a resale home. But regardless of if everything's brand new, shiny, and beautiful like this house, or if it's a 1972 that's been painted 14 times, it's been replaced, the floors, the ceilings, everything, inspect what you're buying. Alrighty, I hope you guys make this year a masterpiece. I just recovered from the flu, so expect to see a lot more of me. Alright, catch y'all soon.